morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk.
Morning, P. How's your week?
Oh, really good. So, CELH, just sort of had some patience there. Did well on that. A couple of uh, crypto breakdowns. So basically, traded with options, traded down to a level, broke down. So if you kept anything, that just took over and did really well. So kind of saw that coming, I think, and just the two ways to approach that is just completely stay away, or trade some downside, trade bounces quickly. Like, I mean, you can do that. I mean, there are really better fish. There aren't a lot of better fish options wise, just because of the way those pivots are working on MSTR. But so that's been good. Earnings, has been really interesting, to follow, and just some big winners and some big pullbacks, and I think like some of the bigger drops are going to be good once they set back up. So just a good time for patience. Spy getting washed around like we talked about. So um, yeah, I mean, I think one of the strengths here, come up with big ideas, and you kind of you trade around those, and you don't try to do the same thing every day. You let the conditions dictate what you're going to do, and I think we have a pretty good handle on what's likely to happen with all that, and where the safest setups are going to be. So yeah, just really enjoying the growth there, and it's been good.
Yeah, not to lie, I've been riding the wave, so to speak, lately on a lot of our plays. Um, just giving them time. It still kind of worked, and um, not my favorite short week. I don't really like that because it messes with how it just messes with my schedule overall, and definitely
Mm.
with how I like to screen and find things and see some abnormal stuff happening. You need that extra day, and it's kind of hard to. I mean, do I just do it like Thursday midday? Because it's just not the same with 2 days of volume without completely
Yeah.
changing my filters. And I'm sure feel the same about changing filters. You
Yeah, we
kind of
don't
get
do that.
stubborn. Yeah, you
Yeah.
get stubborn after a while. But I did well, and a couple plays I want to mention from you. That farm, I mean, purely got you just got to a TA situation, and it's done more than I expected. And then the Axle was really good. Bosch and Lam really good. So yeah, I mean, still a little more work to get to those. Sizing important, so you can hang out a little bit, but good week overall, and really would have been a great week for me without Friday. Had to make some decisions on Friday, which I didn't want to make decisions, but we all know how much I'm a Square fan, and that thing hit like three of my levels where I was going to scale out on Friday. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
um, good. For me, it's good kind of transition to general conversation, but good for me if it's a 1 day thing. But if we're in another one of them COVID dips, um, which I thought was the news on Friday, that kind of pulled some stuff down. Um, gonna get rough here for some people that don't have plans, that are just holding on to stuff willy nilly,
Yeah, yeah.
that haven't took anything off the table on a stock that's ran 100%. You're gonna get taxed right now. I think if that continues. Um, I haven't really looked too much into the news this week, but Monday should be very telling for that. So um, excited and not because if I see the right things on Monday, it's going to be a great buying opportunity. And if not, gonna just have to overmanage positions that I've been in for not too long, but that I've got a lot of the juice out of. So um, not necessarily lost, but A and B. You always have the A and B plan, and I think next week's going to be interesting in that regard on some of the bigger names that we're just way ahead in.
I think so the I talked about the three down, two up
Yes.
kind of setup, and that was the way I phrased it. There's been times where it's been the the other way around, 3 up and 2 down. But it is that mix, and that is very difficult for options people, especially. And the a lot of people have traded on the idea that we get some little morning flush and then stuff recovers all day, and that's not really what's happening right now. And good example of that. So Coin got an upgrade on Friday, and I'll just go to the so Coin got an upgrade on Friday. Popped up 4%, gave it all back, didn't even put up a fight, and just kept dropping. So it was like, even pre-market low didn't matter. My little local pivot at 250, it just flew right through that, and just nothing. Now down here, if it wants to stay down here, I mean, there are some interesting spots, but there are a ton of people who chase calls here at open, see this drop, get in there. That little pop isn't enough, so they're going to stay in, and then they're just done. And this is a little bit of an extreme example of that, but this is what's been happening. AVGO did a similar thing, and they don't remember conditions like this, but this used to be the market like almost every day,
yeah.
for a while, and that's how I ended up in steel and oil and all that stuff. So yeah, you're absolutely right. They are not ready for that whatsoever, and I think we will be. So we're fine.
I kind of just good. I was wondering when I was going to add this note to the conversation today, but off the rip, this works great. So I appreciate you bringing up Coin. It's one of the reasons I love auto RTL. It gives you that playing field, and you already said a good part of it. Like, it just flew through pre-market low, but it gives me guidelines that, like, you're not just in no man's land all the time. And the lines are auto generated. I don't put these lines on the chart. So yeah, Monday, didn't even, it went previous day high, it went pre-market low, it went previous day low, and just kept falling off the cliff. And I mean, the volume was there, trend was there on the day. Never touched the 13 SMA on the 5 minute. So I mean, there was no reason to buy that with the system on Friday. And I like it because it just takes out the emotions. I mean, how many rejections do you really need? I mean, instead of wondering, that's what you look for with RTL on my side. It's, you have places that you're looking for it to find support and or reject, and just let it guide you a little bit. And we talked about the EMAs, SMAs all the time on the bigger time frames. Well, right to the 200 on the daily, so Monday I'll probably get a little bounce back here is what I would see. And you kind of learn that with each stock, kind of learn that with each sector. They're all different, but when you have a little bit of guidelines, it sure does help. And then when you trust the system, you've seen it enough, it just really limits the emotions for you, and which for me is helpful. I don't know, some people don't have any, so maybe it's not in their court, but for me, highs are highs and lows are lows, and trying to stay in the middle is the best for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see a lot of options traders, because they're who I watch most closely out there on Twitter, but they'll they talk themselves into buying things based on some macro narrative, that whether it's Coin or MSTR, Nvidia, or whomever, that this company is so important and has this great future and all that, and all that can be true, but you're buying weekly options, dude. So I mean, you're whatever you're talking about, like a 5-year plan, and your option expires on Friday and it's Wednesday. So that just does not work. And I think people get a little bit too caught up in that. And the for me, the focus on sectors is really important. And then sometimes the sector focus is this is going to pop off this week, but really the best ones are it takes time. It takes time to develop. And you have to trade it that way. So oil and natural gas are, perfect examples of that. Been on those sectors for a while now, and the setups there, the flow tells you the likely timing on that: summer, fall, next year, and you look for that combination of strikes, and then that's where that's kind of where the TA comes in. So you cannot trade short term on some big idea. Usually, it's pretty rare. It takes time to play out, and I mean most people just don't have the patience or work ethic to put something like that together. Their justification for the trade is somewhat after the fact. They're in it. They're bagged. They build themselves back up with the idea that this thing's gonna turn around. So that kind of optimism can be really damaging to people, and just see it over and over again. And you'll notice the small account challenges are back.
Oh yeah.
So what does that tell you?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. You already know. I'm calling it out the first day. I seen it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, again, I'm touching on the emotions once more again, but I'd rather, and I'll bring up a couple examples. Like, search the old Twitter sphere and even this group for when I was saying, in the worst market, buy Tesla, you're good for 5 years here. Well, you're still up 200%, even though what's going on, probably 240, 210, 220, somewhere in there percent. Like, you're way good there. And we're only 2 years down the road. That's a way better place to be emotionally than, I'm trying to trade this, getting washed around, and then that happens and you just miss the boat. And that even relates back to kind of swing trading. Look at Intel. And, just buy in the 18s, get sizing right. And, we're up 30-40% on that. And hitting those are, I wouldn't say they're easier, but you don't have to time them. If you have good levels, if you have good theses, you can, your term, park and wait, so to speak, and then, kind of reevaluate the play. But it's much easier than, is this the week Intel's going up, or is this the week that we really I didn't know when Tesla was going to have a big week. And if you look at that stock, it's not a grind up. It's not your Microsoft, or your Netflix where it just grinds up. News comes and you have good weeks. Coin's probably like that too. Like, if you're when we were at 76, 72 argument, we didn't know when it was going to bump up, but we knew it would. And, anyone trying to just trade options or just trade the short term there, you're just going to get washed around constantly. So, it does, for me, the small account is a great, cohesion there, because I get it. If all you got is $2,000 or $10,000, man, you want to double that up this month. And that's hard to do. Treat it like a bill and go back to work used to be a thing we said all the time. And, most people need to start there, and most kids don't start there because they've seen someone turn a couple $100 into a couple million or whatever bullshit they say, and they're here for the lotto, they're here for the YOLO, and which is fine, but it's not fine trying to get people to follow you doing that. One of the smartest things I seen you create was a way to appease that appetite with the ER lotto, because you're playing both sides. You really just want huge volatility, and then kind of ride one of them from there. So that Dave never came up with something besides we're not trading until 10:30, watching the rejection on an EMA. If it's above V, it's not fucking calculus, bud. It's not. Like, and you're not even you're wasting your time on some stuff, because price will be revisited, but learning what price should do around a level is more important than just, it's gonna bounce here every time. So I know a lot to unpack there, but it's just what I see right now, and it's just a night and day from you and the 20-year-olds, but that's kind of expected.
And they're right. I mean, their approach to earnings, they never heard of SWKS, and they're trying to trade coin to 400. They're going to try to pile into Nvidia this week. they haven't heard of. I'm not even going to say what they are, but there's, I look at that earnings calendar, I see different things than they do. And even though, I mean, they're probably looking at the same exact page I am, but they just completely ignore or dismiss the ones that are the best setups. And just an example, price wise, I mean, if you have a stock that's $20 to $60, and the flow is indicating a pretty large move on it, you can play both sides fairly close to the money. You're under $150, and if you get anything close to what the setup is indicating, that's going to go, the whole trade you'll make 300, 400, whatever. And they aren't all going to win like that, but you really only need a few that pays for the rest of them. And then sometimes you get the huge ones, the Trade Desk and SWKS. I mean, the wins there, they fund the ER thing for the next 3 months. You don't win any of them. So, so if you just set it up with that kind of discipline, you're fine. But yeah, I mean the really high volume stuff, the really high attention stuff, the best thing for the market makers is to kill as many of those options as they can, especially initially. So that's where you'll get a big spike in the pre-market, and then it kind of dips back down. Celsius had enough news behind it to where they couldn't just kill it, and plus where it was on the chart and everything. So so that was a much better long-term look, and I actually posted leaps on that, sort of looking for something like that to happen. And so yeah, I mean, it just depends. But yeah, going into it, slam call, slam puts, 30% out of the money both directions. That's how I see them do earnings. Well, that's just not how it's done.
It's the problem there is, I mean, I won't even say like they follow the wrong, like a stock that's up 80% on the year or year to date, that's a part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
Like they're not buying flat stuff ever, but then they do that, and I always think like you nailed that too, with like they're buying strikes based on their account, um, and they're too far out of the
Yeah.
money, and because they're trying to be cheap when really they should find like stocks that like Dow or like Philip Morris or maybe even the oil stocks, because the options are a little cheaper the closer to the money. I mean, you don't need that
Right.
big of a move, and they just have never really figured that out, and or have any interest. No one wants to say I traded Exxon calls or something. I don't know, but um, their checks that they have are based on situational things in their life and not the chart, and it's kind of sad to see. I mean, I know that Coin 400 call a couple weeks ago was like, what, is that a misprint? I really thought that was a misprint. Like, how are you going that far out of the money? But that's what the funds you had and the stock you wanted to trade. And I'll tell you right now, that's a recipe for disaster, for anybody that's either following or trying to do it like that. I mean, if you're out of money, or you don't have a lot of money, or you just don't want to put a lot of money into options, um, again, you do a great job finding stuff that, hey, this is $30 on each side. But it's not going to be a
So,
sexy.
and
It's
even
not going
with
to be a
the
sexy name.
no, it's not. And the where you want to be. So like, let's say something. I think it's like Trade Desk was like this. It goes into earnings $110 or $12. So you get 100p, right? And that is much better. Like if it falls to 92 or something like that, and then it broke down further. But just for the sake of argument, falls to 92. If your strike is at 92, that's pretty dicey that will hold, overnight. But if your strike's at 100, it can pop back up to 96, and who cares? But if your strike's 92 and it pops back to 96 at open, the thing's worthless. So so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna it's less risky because I'm just gonna get a lower strike. Well, you're just throwing the money away instead of giving yourself a chance, and that's why, like, if you can't get plausibly in the money or close to the money on these things, just stay away. I mean, you could trade. They could trade Procter and Gamble through earnings
Yeah.
for the same price that they're trading Nvidia, with a much better chance of success. And I don't know. They just don't know that, or don't put in the time to learn that. They don't learn the basics of implied volatility, or any of that stuff. But yeah, I mean that's how, that's where small account challenges come from, because that's all they got left. So you got to start over.
Two,
And
two things on that, and
yeah,
I'll throw the ball back to your court real quick. Again, just RTL is a beautiful thing.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got your screen up, but
yeah,
random hangout spot. And again, you just watch the price around that level, and then again,
right, right,
where do I buy? It takes the emotion out. We already got a level on that chart. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it it just doesn't really. I had another one, but I lost it there, Pete. I'm hurting today. So yeah, but price is always going to be revisited on things, and um, just having a simple plan is going to save your ass.
No, it's all good. So I want to get to a couple boring uh, names here in futures.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
And natural gas. I'm just, somewhat of a victory lap at this point, although we're still not really where I think it's going. But you're in good shape here, in my opinion, if you're in those combo names.
Combo
And
breaker.
because because oil is still stagnating a bit, a lot of, the combo names are still in a pretty good zone. And I'm fine sizing up on a couple of those, even with the entries that we had. This is, natural gas kind of finicky, but I think it's going to get into that $5 to $7 area. So that's just what I'm looking for, um, into this year, thinking months down the line. And just mentioned oil. Yeah, I mean, oil is, you can just zoom out and see what it's been doing for a long time now, and just another pullback that's coincided with some pretty positive earnings. I sold some Devon. I prefer to buy it rather than sell it, but popped 8% on earnings. I'm going to sell some. So
Well,
so yeah, I still like a lot of those setups, and I don't think oil is setting up for some catastrophic breakdown. I just don't see that happening.
for lack of better
So
terms on that, Devin, when you're wrong and you can still close a trade green, um,
yeah,
you
yeah,
do it.
sure,
You
yeah,
do it.
right, right,
um, I
yeah,
had a question.
exactly.
I had a question about oil in general. I just want to get your feedback on it. But for Trump too, or this administration in general, not the guy, um, they need oil prices to be in, like, let's say the 68 to 72 range. Like they want stability and it to be low. They don't want $90 oil. This administration does not want $90 oil. Am I wrong on that?
No, no, no. You're right. And it's part of the reason that I think that the place to look for oil is the people, the materials and logistics, right? So
The
um,
upstream,
your
downstream
drilling
stuff.
rigs, your pipelines, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Where the sector, an administrative priority, the drill baby drill idea. You look at it economically. It's like, okay, well, if we're going to increase supply, then that's going to bring the price of oil down. But it's all of that firing up all this equipment, moving all this equipment around, and just that activity, acquisitions, new leases,
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. That's the news cycle that's going to happen. And then so there are stocks that benefit from that, and fortunately, a lot of them are mid caps, some are small caps, and TA wise, they seem to be in a good spot. And the flow comes in, and the flow is very easy to read on those. So part of why I love the sector is that it's not a sector where I need this pop over 90 to just create mania. That's not what it is. So it's more of a kind of a slower grind, but a kind of optimism about uh, the sector and an administration that's friendly and supportive of that sector. It creates the kind of attention that you need to drive those stocks.
Yeah, individual news names is what or individual news in names is what I've been noticing. Oxy saying, we got a bunch of
Yeah.
cash. We got a bunch of cash. I mean, that's
Right.
a good spot to be. And then, the acquisitions and stuff like that kind of move that sector a little better than the price of oil, which is I would rather trade the news than have to worry about the commodity price so much. We just had a year or two of or a year or three of just extreme volatility in oil post COVID, and that goes with pretty much any of the boring stuff. That extreme volatility. Eventually, we'll get back to some stability, and that the market, to be honest, will like that a little better. Then your growth will be more of a slow climb than a 2 or 3 day trade, especially in these sectors.
Absolutely. I wanted to. We don't talk about aluminum a lot because I use copper as kind of the proxy for that. But if you just look at this trend on aluminum, don't really see that stopping. And part of it to me relates to copper setting up to test $5. That's what I think's happening. And there's a lot of conditions that could cause that. I mean, there's lots of reasons copper moves, and people talk about it as a leading indicator for lots of different things. I care more about it for what it is and the stocks within that sector. So a lot of them are through earnings, which I prefer. I don't really like to trade AA or Cenex or FCX through ER very much. It's just there's not much appeal to that. But so you get through earnings, and you set up, and I think we're in pretty good shape there.
I just like trading AA.
There, yeah, no, right. I mean,
no matter.
Yeah, you buy a lot at a time sometimes too.
Yeah, we're not doing that again. I think that might be my last fat finger that I could think of that wasn't. That was pretty miserable. That's like an extra zero, and you just don't want to do that.
Yeah, the options version of fat fingering usually isn't number of contracts. It's not like buy 100 instead of 10. It's usually the buying a put instead of a call. Okay. That's what people happens to everybody who's done that. Yeah. And I mean, the funny thing is sometimes like it works. Like you were wrong, you bought the wrong thing, and it worked out for you. So, I mean, some of those are kind of 50-50
on that
deals,
on that AA one. I made like it wasn't 2K, but it was over 1,000 in like 4 minutes. That's how long it took me to notice it and then get back out. So, but I mean, it easily could have went in the right direction. Yeah, not the way I like to play stocks.
Yeah. Gold, I mean, pretty clearly that 3,000 is beckons. So the news around that will be there, and probably will
get your opinion on the both sides of it. If we go to Fort Knox and the gold's there, what happens? And if we go to Fort Knox and there's no gold there, what happens?
Yeah, I mean if we go there and the gold's there, it's just sort of a non-issue. I don't think it's adds extra fuel to the bullish move here.
Sure.
I mean it'll be if there's. I just I'm a little bit pessimistic that they'll be allowed to do it.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, and I especially think that any kind of attempt at transparency for that process they'll throw everything they can at not doing that, whether the gold's there or not. I just think it's that's a different level of secrecy to me. Is the whole gold reserve and banking system and all of that. So it's to the extent that there is a deep state. I mean, that's where it's that's where it operates. And so yeah. I mean, but I think that suspicion of that um, gold missing or anything like that it's going to create some volatility. Not really a trend change to me, but uh, some opportunities pre-market
It lines
for a lot of
it
stuff.
lines up with the stock in general being heavily shorted. I think if we if it wasn't there, I'm with you. Like probably not going
Yeah,
to get access. Um, but another thing that kind of comes to my mind in that situation is if we go there Monday and it's there or it's not. By Thursday, we're going to be talking about something else. And just where we are with this administration, there's just too much going on. The news is every 5 minutes it changes. It's kind of like the rain out here. You could be just depends on where you are, and it's gone and totally different in 5 minutes. So, um, and learning to trade that has been interesting. The constant news cycle. It's almost hourly in some cases. So, um, but back to gold. Man, did you nail this from the start of the year with your price target of 3,600, which now kind of seems reasonable.
yeah. Right, and yeah, the easiest part of that one was that I thought gold would be better than Bitcoin, which I'm before I'll get to it in a minute, but silver, uh, yeah, that's I still think 36 to 42 is probably where it ends up. So just a question of from where. This is all very healthy to me. What I'm seeing with silver,
Yeah.
and I still like a lot of those miners. And I don't know how you do it, but there's some miners I like to trade short term, and there's some I just scale in and park and wait, and they're the same names every time. So there's a lot of different kinds of opportunities in that sector, I think,
Yeah, it's
as well.
big part of the next session for me. So I don't want to dive too much into those, but um, they're not on how I trade them. They're not 8 or 9 out of 10 names on the street. So I'm trading the chart, taking the percent. Um, I'm not trying to build a position and get free shares in any miners. That's just not a thing in those for me. But very very tradable. Rinse and repeat. Scale out, move your stop losses up, and just play the channels or play the chart bounces. Pretty easy. But then you're just filling the cup on those trades. They're all base hits. They're all sometimes it's a sacrifice fly. You're advancing, but you're not changing the account over one day. But you go back and look at the trades, or you look at your P&L on the stock, and it accumulates. It does. I mean, you find a $20 bill every day in the street. It ain't much until you get 6 months down the road, and you're like, well, man, I got 2 or 3 grand now, and that's how you got to trade those. You're taking chunks. You're not getting one big move in those usually.
Well, there's an observation that people make about miners, and they try this with Bitcoin miners too. It's like, well, they're lagging behind the commodity,
Yeah,
and
divergence.
their thinking is, oh, it's going to catch up.
No.
It's not going to catch up because uh, it's going to move up with with the commodity. It's going to always lag behind, um, because with miners in particular, there's a lot of political aspects to this. So you're some gold company in Denver, and you own mines in Africa, and it's like, well, uh, government shut us down again. Um, they took our shit. Like, I mean, like all of that kind of stuff happens, and then like you acquire a new mine. It's so many years before you turn a profit on any of it. So there's a lot that drags those companies back, and however, in the pullbacks in gold, they get they get punished more severely, and they pop back up and kind of find that equilibrium, and then some of them will catch a nice trend, and there's a few names where I consistently see flow 60, 80% out of the money that's plausible to me. But as a whole sector, I don't think that you look for it. Oh, we're going to catch up to gold, and it's why I don't think you never hear me talk about the minor ETFs,
Sure.
and there are several Ring and a few others, and it's for that reason. I don't think you want a piece of the whole sector there. I think you want the individual setups. What this move in gold allows for is creates the environment for these stocks to hit your targets, and that's what you're after.
I think, and this is definitely for our room, but I'm gonna say it here because don't really have an avenue in the other session since we're just working in the other session. But gotta keep shit simple, man. You really do. And as simple as I can put minors to people, um, we talk about market share like with Dutch Brothers, right? Thousand Store being big news. Look at the run in that. Just gonna go out on a limb and say they've been mining a lot longer than they've been making lattes. They just have. So the market share is so
Right.
fractured over there, it's hard to gain ground, and that's what those companies want to do. So if they get money or their bottom line's good, they're gonna buy some shit, and that's
Yeah.
it's not it's how do you say it? It's not cohesive to the stock price, because they're investing in themselves, and like you're saying, yeah, we're spending 7 million or 7 billion or whatever the hell, so we're better 10 years down the road, and that just doesn't really work for a lot of that's like investing in Nikola, like except for you actually have a product where Nikola doesn't. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so for me, like, it just keeping it simple on that and understanding what you're trading is important. um, the night isn't young over there. I mean, my again, they've been mining a lot longer than they've been making lattes. There wasn't even cars around when we started mining,
Yeah.
like, so just people that get lost in like
Right.
overcomplicating things, or not really understanding what they're trading, just really back up and look at the big picture. And the market, that is one consistent with any sector. They're battling for market share. I mean, that's what it is all about. And you're never going to have a miner that has like 20% market share in the world. That's just not going to happen ever, 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 ever. So it's more fragmented. It's more individual name, and more news driven, in my opinion, which I like because that's one of my big checks. And I do like following the news, following the story on plays like that, or any play in general.
And I'll go to Bitcoin for a
Hey,
minute. Um,
you're gonna be proud or shocked. I actually wanted to talk crypto this week.
oh, nice. So we're in a big FUD cycle, and it's North Korea, Ethereum,
Yeah, talk
all
about
of
that for
those.
me. Talk about that.
Okay. So the I mean the broker that they stole that from, just was pretty lax in their checks. So they didn't hack the crypto itself. Like they didn't use quantum computers to break the code of ledgers or whatever. But they just they scam. They basically scam their way out of $1.4 billion. And Ethereum has been a big disappointment in this whole bull run anyway. I mean, the big joke has been FTX payments are going out. If you had Bitcoin, you're getting screwed because you're getting it for 18 grand. But if you had Ethereum, you're getting it for the same price you paid for it because it's right back to there. So that's kind of a problem for this whole crypto bull run. The strength of Bitcoin relative to anything else has been the story, and I just don't see that changing. I said that I don't think there's going to be an altcoin cycle. Um,
Yeah, no.
and what you've had Bitcoin and meme coins. The meme coin thing is about to implode. I think you just sort of see just these celebrity rugs, and you're getting to more and more kind of B-listers and Dave Portnoy, and then Kanye West does something, and it's just that website where all that occurs, that Pump Fund. Their days are numbered, I think, and their collapse to me is going to be worse than NFTs. But those two things, the North Korean hack and the Pump Fund thing, that's the biggest news in crypto. None of it's good. And then the third one is all of these states that talked about a Bitcoin reserve. All those bills are not even getting out of committee. It's just not going to happen. Maybe one state will do it or two, but that's that story's dying as well. And then South America is backing off on using Bitcoin because the IMF told them they can't, and so none of that's good. I don't see anything good happening news wise, and so I don't know what your your take is on it.
I'll just reiterate what I said a couple weeks ago. Bitcoin is gonna reject 100 and check back into that 88 to 72 zone, and we're seeing it set
there we
up
go.
right now from a TA side.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you on the meme altcoins. They're NFT 2.0, and I don't understand how people are even interested after how many have just shit the bed. And maybe there's some good ones, or maybe they're playable if you're
Yeah.
early or whatever. But that just looks like playing with fire. Fire, like you're betting the hard ways on the crap table. It's 30 to 1, but man, you lose a lot over there. Um, and looking for that one home run. I just again, probably has something to do with account size, why it's attractive to people, or they can scalp with leverage. It's a waste of fucking time for me, um, in general. And pet rock is pet rock. They're gonna pet rock Ethereum. To be honest, I thought Ethereum would be not be okay, but it never have a bad event or anything like that, because they do have people in the office, right? Like there's actually people there. They have, it's more of a business that they can change things. And with the current situation, it seems like I hear they can roll back the thing or something like that, so that they do have a little bit of control. But I mean, once you're in a situation where there's vulnerability to people's money, it's just going to be a big deterrent. And until I see the United States gold bald eagle um, America coin, I'm really not interested in any of it. As far as an investment goes, I mean, you can trade it, you can short term trade crypto, sure, if you've done it for years, but you got to know what you're trading. And I wouldn't fall in love. You had a chance to fall in love with the Bitcoin story, but all the good points of the story have turned to shit. Is it safe? Is it quick? And is it private? And those things are just not true. Like, we know who stole the money. They stole the money, and so all three of those are
Right.
gone right there. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think the same thing about if you wanted to invest in MSTR, I posted about that a lot back in those days, and to invest in it up here is seems unwise, but it's still good to trade. But that's where I'm at with that one.
someone in the room, my irritant level, I'm gonna say it like it was a 10, but really my irritant level when it came up was probably like a 3. It didn't get me too bad, but they asked about, I think they asked about Hive or where to invest in crypto, and I was like, nowhere. Like, what are you doing? I mean, and I asked the question in a room, like, y'all have my crypto list. It's on the screen right now. I ain't scared. Um, I said, there's one of these I would buy, and no one answered the goddamn question. So I'm gonna ask you, P. Which one of these would Unk buy right now?
It's here. Oh, let me see.
I'll throw you a hint. You were definitely the one that got me on this one, and were around my level.
The BTDR.
Nope. You're BITF. Why? Because
ITF.
Why?
Okay.
Because it's cheap. and we're right on my level down here. So,
Yeah.
so if I'm gonna take a shot, you get it. You literally could pick your sizing. It's $1.32. I ain't checked the
Right.
flow
Yeah.
on it or nothing like that. But if I was grabbing one, I got my 3 candles we always talk about right on the level. That's the only one I
Yeah.
would be messing around with right now. The rest of them really seem like yeah, you're gonna buy on emotion on a good day, and son of a bitch, I'm bagged now.
I would say can. I would look at can because it's Chinese.
I got you.
That's the only reason.
I got you.
But yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, I've been ragging on the CLSK guys for a while, and it's gonna break down to
Our
where
level's
we
coming
found
back,
it.
P.
Yeah, yeah,
What's your
yeah.
level, guys? Yeah, down here. See, it's $3. That's when we like that one.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, that's what needs to happen for us to like these, and
yep.
I think I think it's gonna happen. And I mean, you remember when I was talking about Mara? We originally got back into that.
Yep.
How cheap that was. Yeah, exactly. So it's intradable up here. I see that line there, and that's all well and good. But when when we'll be talking about crypto again, it might be a year or two from now, though.
Yeah,
As far as
I said on Mara, I
yeah.
think a week or two ago, we're probably going to trade it like 11 to 15. That's going to be the trade. Um,
Yes, yeah,
it's not going to
yeah.
be the 17 level. I mean, it's on my level, but there's no way I was trading it. It's just everything's going against it, and and the levels work in both ways. Like it's going to act as support for a little bit. It will. There's a lot of shares there. That's the whole point of
Yeah.
RTO. So you don't expect it to break day one. But when we get back into this channel, it's going to start falling a little freer, and that's where we are currently. I expect to see sub 10, to be honest with you on this. But there's probably going to be some trades along the way, just in a good news cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And coin for me, I mean, it's probably not going all the way to like 120, but like 220 could happen next week. But that was a spot. 200 ain't shit. We're back to that. I think that's gonna happen. And then you talk, I think it's like maybe 180 or thereabouts is probably where I'd look for it. You're not getting in the 70s again or anything like that, but
Not unless they
yeah,
get
right,
hacked.
right, yeah,
Which is for me, like, that story, you put the book back on the shelf. If you didn't make money on coin, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Um,
right,
so we'll just find another, on to the next one, put that book away for a while, or you're a graduate student of the chart, MSTR coin for
yeah,
you, and you know how to fill the back to the, you know how to fill the cup. You're not going to get the 100% out of that play.
right,
Share side, and if you know how
yeah,
to trade the options, you can work it a little bit and fill your cup over and over again. But you're not trading coin. I'm gonna say that to you right now. Little put the mentor hat on. You're not trading the coin or the chart. You're trading familiarity. That's what you're trading. You know it.
oh yeah, yeah.
So no, I mean other people they might not see it that way, and you need to. You just when you get familiar with the stock. What up, Pele? Um, you trade it over and over again till the chart doesn't pay. And we're breaking out all the classics today.
Yep, absolutely.
What else you got, sir?
Oh,
We don't do that.
yeah. So, to talk really quickly about something I'm seeing. All right, so go to SQQQ, and this obviously this is the Nasdaq inverse and all that. And when you look at the open interest on it, um, this is very likely going to break 30, and you get the March 30s, June 30s. You've got even March 35 is probably a little much, but yeah. So I don't think we're done with the pullbacks, and I think the 3 down 2 up thing is going to be sort of what gets us there. And I've noticed that people, when I've mentioned this one, they're real hesitant about it, and I can see why. I mean, the market, obviously, you're shorting the market. Market's been on a big uptrend or whatever, but it depends on what you want it to do. If you're using SQQQ to try to protect your account, it's not going to hack it to just buy one call, and you have to have a better plan than that. If you're using it like as just a trade, I think there is something there, and the line I have on it, which is split adjusted, this 35.26. I think we revisit that sometime first half of the year. So what that means for everybody else is you're probably going to get some opportunities to buy some large caps. Google stands out to me, but I think that the flow is set up for that to occur, and that's the cleanest read among the ETFs I have right now, is that we get a pop over 30, potential to test that pivot there.
And now that I got off the gush through our relationship, I mean, ETFs aren't something I trade too much. I think I've only bringed up the retail one recently. But I've noticed, because I do pay attention to them, like if a sector starts moving, China's a great example. Like if you feel like you missed BABA, you had time to get into KWeb. And I think that's a overall thing that's probably going to continue. Like, you get those ones that really start to move a sector, and if you're late on those, instead of finding the other ones, which I prefer, the other names that are going to move, the ETFs aren't a bad place to be.
I mean, because with China, the A plus names get it started, and then there's quite a few that are in KWeb that are looking pretty good over the next month or so, and so that'll push that one. So totally agree there.
We'll do our weekly SPY talk, 50 SMA daily. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Same thing for you though. We still 580. I mean, on a bigger.
Yeah. I mean, there's right. So there isn't much flow wise to talk about with SPY currently. So you've got this 595 weeklies that popped from. This is an OI wake up. This is what I talk about. It went from 70 cents to 350, and then close the day at 3. So they could try to do something with this week. I think they might pull that in the money and get out. I could definitely see that happening. The 620 March is definitely fading in its hope. You can see that flipping bid side. So yeah, I mean, all I see is like a short term drop under 595 is.
So we're getting tighter on the bottom.
I have
is what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Two things. One's a little victory lap, but man, when we agree and come up with a 3-month or 4-month thesis, there's no one better. I mean, we talked about at the beginning of the year that the SPY names, what they were going to do, and then focused in a little more on a price range that it was going to consolidate in, and son of a bitch, here we are. And second here, will you bring SQQ back up on your side? I just have a question for you. That.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The flow.
Yeah. You don't have to bring up TAP. I know TA pretty well.
Yeah, I got you.
So a lot of times, like since you've been screen sharing, I kind of look for commonalities and things. Some of the charts literally have nothing but one candle, right? Like a midday price candle. And then you get this one that literally is traded all day. It doesn't really look like it's following price much. What do you prefer to read, or how do you read those different, or just elaborate a little bit on that?
Um, I prefer the fewer the candles, the better,
Okay.
because the that's the cleanest. When I say clean read, that's usually what it is. Um, this is more complicated, and so
Noisy. That's the
I,
word you'd
I
like to
I
use.
do read it. It's noisy. Yeah, it's noisy. But within this one, you see all the green here. The direction and the thinking of the whales is pretty clear that we get some continuation
Looks
to
green.
the downside. If they didn't think so, then they'd be selling out of more of these calls, selling to close, selling to open. You would see more of that. But instead, you just have you have a combination of steady momentum of call buying and OI wake up of things they bought 6-8 months ago that they're like, okay, we'll go ahead and get out of these. And so that's why with it pushing 30, I think it pops to 32 or so. And it's a 3x leveraged ETF. So that, do a little math, that tells you what the likely pullback in NASDAQ would be for that to happen.
Interesting. I like it, but again, from a TA guy, I look like the bigger candles and what does the price do around the bigger candles, and just been interesting to follow along.
Yeah.
And yeah, trying to kind of see it from your side, so I can I guess just, I don't know how else to say it, but know where you're coming from. A lot of times that makes it easier, so I know what to look for, or I don't dismiss things um, because they're not in the best spot. I remember we used to have that no man, and I mean it was the start of the bull market, but we had that no man's land, and I'm like, P, we got a gap down, and you're like, I don't care. So following along that and trying to figure out what you see in those situations, so we can tighten it up a little bit and take advantage of all the reads as they come in.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Anything else?
absolutely.
You ready to get to work?
Yeah. No, let's do it. I'll go grab a coffee and we'll get going.
Perfect. Like and subscribe, people. Link somewhere.